We're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingmen Show. I'm Drew Brown. We're here to inspire, entertain, and learn so we can all grow. Happiness and serenity are the keys. To you, my friend, my wingman, my main man, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Paul Thompson. Hey, Paul.
Good morning, Mr. Drew. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard from the one and only Drew Brown, Dark Gable, the American dream. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He's the pilot's pilot, the role model's role model, and most importantly, his royal fullness. Thank you for listening to the podcast, looking at the podcast. And if you could, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. We would appreciate it. I'm doing very good this morning, Mr. Drew. How are you?
I'm doing great. You ready to start this show?
I'm ready.
All right, we'll check this out.
Paul. Drew.
Can you believe 8-town down Atlanta? How about them Atlanta Hawks? I can't believe how far they have gone in the playoffs. It's almost incredible. And you know, you and I are Knicks fans, 100%. Born, bred, we have it in our bloods. And the Knicks, I don't know for you, I'm not going to talk for you, but I'm sure they have let me down for so long. And this year they gave me a little bit of inspiration and once again, let me down. But I love the Knicks so much and I love the Giants and the Yankees so much that wherever I live, they're my second team. So right. Atlanta, 100% is my second team. Right. And I really do get excited when you can root for a team. That just brings me to this. The NBA is so incredible because at any time your star player gets hurt, it's over. Right. Antetokounmpo got hurt. I mean, who's the other one that's for the LA Clippers?
Kawhi Leonard. Their superstar hurt. Everything changes. You can make it all the way to the top. And if your main dude gets hurt, it's over. And I guess I got to refer to LeBron because that's one of the most amazing things about him. He hasn't gotten hurt much in his career. But that brings us to the NCAA. Didn't you want to talk about that a little bit? Yeah, it's like the NCAA finally, I wouldn't say they caved in, but they acquiesced to the Supreme Court decision, allowing athletes to really use their name, image, and likeness and get compensated. In fact, that just went through a couple of days ago. We talked about it on the last show, but it just became official within the last, 48 hours.
Yeah, when the show came out, it became official.
Yeah, so we predicted the future. Yeah. So already there are some athletes who are big time college players or want to be or about to be. They've already trademarked their name and their whatever products. They got clothing lines coming out. They may be freshmen. They're already working on it, which is actually very smart.
Yeah, sure.
I don't see any problem with it.
Well, you know what? How about this problem? When I was at Southern University and I had a full scholarship, basketball, and I asked my dad, he trains Ali and everything. I finally said, "Hey, Dad, can you buy me a car?" And he said, "Yes, son, you deserve a car." My daddy sent me $150, Paul, with a note that had the nerve to say, "Make sure you get good tires." And honest to God. And I was like, this has to be a mistake. The bank made a mistake. They're ripping my dad off, something. And the reason he did that was he heard a story about Rockefeller. So Rockefeller sent his son to either Harvard or Yale, I'm not sure which one, with a Rolls Royce. Okay. So the kid pulls up with a Rolls Royce. His roommate dropped out of school. His father pulled him out of school telling him he can't compete. It's almost, he's not going to put his son through that. Anyway, I think Rockefeller took the Rolls Royce back. The kid went back to school. What does that have to do with me? I have no idea. But what it brings me to, Paul, is what happens when you're at the University of Pittsburgh. We'll pick your school this time. University of Pittsburgh. And one kid is straight out of high school in Arkansas, really good shooter. And the other kid is from LA, who knows what, bing, bang, superstar. You roll up with a Volkswagen from 10 years ago, and he comes in with his Lamborghini. And he doesn't go to class on purpose because he knows exactly what to do up until the draft. I mean, he's been they're actually teaching them. It's a business now. So how does that dynamic work?
Well, the reality is if you're talking about football players, when you talk about it, basketball players and the what we call one and done thing, to me, you're not a college student unless you're doing stuff on the side, you're doing things in the summer, unless you're really studying. So, 6 months on a college campus, 8 months or whatever from the time you come in to the time you get drafted, that's not a college career or an academic career in anything, not even in preschool. So I think that if you're that good, say like, I don't want to use any names, but guys who've gone to like big time schools like Duke and this, that, and the other, or Kentucky, they're there for a few months. Do they go to class? Yes. Now, do they pass? It's kind of like, who cares? Do they pass?
Well, I think
practice?
the rules are they have to do something just enough, I think, to make it through their first semester, because I think the basketball year goes into the second something. I believe that they do have to have some sort of academics.
There's probably some minimum requirements because there's been some embarrassing things that came out in the last year or so about some programs for athletes where they took stuff where they weren't even there, and right. Nobody even taught. It was just like a fictitious kind of thing. So, or you could be like
our daughters, who both got full rides. Yours to the Air Force Academy, mine to the University of Texas, playing basketball and get a great education.
Right? Yeah. You can do that.
The majority of the kids who don't get notoriety actually do that. And I wanted to talk to you about one other thing. When I coached my kids, this is real important because the dynamic of sports now, I taught my kids always, I don't boo at the other team. I don't even care about the other team. I only motivate the team I'm cheering for. But one of the things I did when I coached, which some of the greatest years of my life, when I coached my kids, I taught them the word confidence. And confidence is made by practice. If you do things enough times, I think there's even a theory. You have to do something 10,000 times to become great, 10,000 hours to become great. And, that is kind of true. Look how long that we flew before we were proficient. So practice makes confidence, and confidence makes success. So I just wanted to put that in there because when my kids were up at the plate, the only thing I didn't tell them to pick their elbow up. If you haven't taught your kid what to do when he's at the plate, it's too late. Mm-hmm. I yell, confidence. So that's it. I wanted to put that point in there.
You can hit the home run. Yeah, I've heard about the 10,000. It's usually 10,000 repetitions. It could be 10,000 hours. It's 10,000 something, and some people would take issue with that too. There are ways to speed learning. That doesn't really work for me, but there are people who can do programs in record time, from academic to martial arts, by focusing your mind in different ways.
Correct. But Paul, you want to know what I've learned in life? The quickest way to do something is do it the right way. The quickest way. I always wanted to find the easy way out. Well, I did find it, and it's doing it the right way the first time. It's like from point A to point B, vector.
Yeah. It's basically you were trying the easiest way. You should say I was trying to do the most efficient way, which may be the easiest way or may not be the easiest way. But the problem is if you rush and do things wrong, you have to do it over again anyway, which takes longer.
Correct.
There you go. We learned that it takes you longer.
You're defeating that whole purpose. I wanted to talk to you about this too. And this is sad.
And we're going to be upbeat in this show, but we also have to have some reality. In Ethiopia, I just happened to read this. The government of Ethiopia has allowed a ceasefire so aid can come in and feed the people who are starving to death. And to me, is that weird that they're either going to die by war or by starvation, but the definite end for them is death? And sometimes when you're in this country and you think things are so bad and so this and that, we've been privileged enough to travel the world and actually see this. And I think if you don't leave your county or you don't leave your city or your borough, you don't get the option to really learn what the world's about. So please tell me what you think about that, because that's incredible. You're going to die by starvation or by the bullet.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaking situation. To me, the craziest thing about that is that it's all over politics. It's all over politics. There's that region they call the Tigray region, Tigray, which is in the northern part of the country, north to northwest. And it's part of Ethiopia, but it's like a different region, and they have their own elections. And the rest of the country has their elections. And for some reason, the leader of Ethiopia, I forgot his name, but they canceled elections because of coronavirus. In the Tigray region, they had their election, and the parent company, or the larger part of Ethiopia, says that election, your election, doesn't count. And and they're saying, yeah, it does count. Yes, it does. No, it does. Yeah, it does. No, it doesn't. And basically, that's a political problem. They went to war. There's an area called Eritrea, which is a country which is near Ethiopia. They used to fight. They fought them too for 18 years or so, or for a number of years. Then Ethiopia made up with Eritrea. Now Eritrea and Ethiopia together, and together they are fighting the Tigray people. It's all a political thing. Same country.
People are dying.
People are dying. I think already.
You know what? It's never the people in power. You know who are dying? The poor schmucks who go out there. You ever notice that they send the people out there to die? The political parties, they're using starvation as a weapon. But look who they're doing. Not to the power people, because the power people on both sides in most countries have something.
Yeah, they're not suffering. They have they're pretty nice suits that I've seen.
Like, that's what bothers me about people telling you what you don't have. How come you have it? Some of our leaders, or so-called leaders, yeah, you need this, you need that. Well, how the hell are you a millionaire? What did you do?
Yeah, right.
So that just amazed me. My dad wrote about that in the 1950s with my mom. They used to write things, and he said, isn't it funny that young men go and die at war, and then old men make another decision to send some more young men out to die some more? Well, anyway, that's terrible. And how about this? 116 degrees in Portland. It's so hot. Remember when it used to get so hot we couldn't land because the tires would melt on the airplane, or you couldn't take off because of the friction? You don't think there might be a little bit of global warming or something that they're talking about? We're having bigger hurricanes, or is this just a phenomenon? Okay. I'm not being political here. I'm trying to be common sense. Okay. The winters are getting colder. The summers are getting hotter. The weather is becoming more unusual. Do you think there might be a little bit of something that puts it together?
It could be. I don't remember anything about tires blowing up or whatever taking off. I think about density, altitude. It's too freaking hot. But
you don't remember that? That was the tire speed. If it was a certain ambient temperature on the runway, you couldn't take off.
I'm trying to think.
Friction on the tire from heat.
Okay, I'm trying to think of a limitation off the top of my head. Tire for. I don't remember that as a limitation I ever had to remember. But if you say so, it must be true.
It's just that, you had a brake limitation, right? For brakes?
Yes.
Well, if the tires were too hot or the brakes were already hot, that brake limitation would bring that speed back because the brakes are already hot.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
your go no go.
You're
It's going to be funny. One of us is right.
Yeah,
and
you're
it's probably you. That's the
confused.
funniest part of this whole thing.
Yeah, you're talking. You're talking about brake energy. I think I know where you're going. Okay, brake energy. You're talking about the tires blowing up like a balloon. That was the part that was throwing me. Okay, brake energy. Okay, that's another.
How about this?
Discussion.
The funniest part is whatever you're saying is probably right. I'm just I'm just trying to show people how smart I am.
No, your brain is so big that I'm just trying to get my mind around.
Yes. Well, now we're talking about the world, which is one of the things that we've been very privileged. Why don't you talk about Afghan a little bit and what's happening there? You've been to that region, and we've flown over that region many times.
Yeah, well, my daughter spent some time there. I wouldn't call it a vacation, but yeah, the U.S. is pulling out of Afghanistan. They're still negotiating it now in Doha. Doha is capital of Qatar. I used to pronounce that Qatar. I called it Qatar, but it's actually called Qatar. Mm-hmm. That's the proper pronunciation. All right, so what? So, what was it worth? Why did they go into Afghanistan? It was from 9/11. The attacks were planned there. Actually, the attacks were planned in Hamburg, West Germany, but there was a trail that led back to the caves in Afghanistan. The U.S. troops are coming out. I think they're all supposed to be out within a couple of days. They're going to leave a few hundred. We'll see. It's going to be jacked up anyway because they have to protect the airport at Kabul and not Bagram. Bagram Air Force Base or Bagram Air Base is going to be, I think, turned over to the Afghans. So this will be, I guess, a small security contingent to keep the embassy open and keep the airport going because the airport's the only way you're going to get out of there. Just a big mess. That's part of Central Asia. You got all these stands. A lot of people don't know the stands. You got the five I remember. You got Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. Pakistan is Southern Asia, but that's that Central Asia region. There's no good thing about it. The Taliban are taking over the country. They've got half of it now as the U.S. is withdrawing, and they'll probably have all of it in a very short time.
Is the Taliban a real formal government?
I think they're trying to be, because the way it was the Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda's a thing. Okay, Al-Qaeda did the attack from 9/11, and they got formed as a result of a fighting force to resist the Soviets when the Soviets were there. That was formed by Osama bin Laden. He was a head guy, and he did some stuff with the CIA when they were fighting the Russians, and they were okay.
No kidding.
Then they became, not okay when, he kind of went rogue. The Taliban came up, as I recall, after this. Well, they were fighting during the Soviet invasion, but they were also fighting the government because the government was communist then, and they were anti-communist Islamic, and Soviets are gone, so I guess that communist influence is gone. So they want the whole thing. So they've always been kind of an Islamic political arm, as I understand it.
What you think about it when you spent time over there?
Close I got. I've been to Kazakhstan a number of times. I've been to a city called Almaty. That was a layover. Very interesting place. Not a lot of folks stayed there. Only U.S. Pilots I knew were FedEx folks and some UPS folks. I think we stayed at the same hotel. And there's a few American expats who retired at 60 pilots, and they went and flew for Air Astana. Astana is the capital city of Kazakhstan.
Wow.
And very interesting place. It's not Russia. They didn't consider themselves Russia. In fact, they considered it insulting if they were called Russian. So I thought very interesting. First time I was there was like a black and white movie out of the 1950s. It's cold in wintertime and very depressing. It could be kind of nice in the summer, actually. Very interesting place. I have some neighbors 3 doors down from Kazakhstan.
They must be really happy here.
Yeah, they seem to be happy. Yeah, and Kazakhstan is big, and Kazakhstan has a lot of oil too. I met a number of folks who worked in the oil fields in Kazakhstan, and it's a vast area. when the Russian spacecraft would come back, they typically would land. They always landed on land, and they would always land in Kazakhstan. It's a big territory. And Scott, supposedly it has as much oil as Iraq, I'd heard.
Dr. Thompson, you are so smart. It's crazy how smart you are. Guess what? Remember last week we were talking about women and how oppressed they've been. Well, they've also been, we were talking about, you looked up in the air like you don't know what I'm talking about. I was talking about religions, how religions didn't allow women to ascend to the top of their, echelon to be rabbis and real Orthodox Jewish and priests and all that. Anyway, guess in sports also, you and I have been very, very privileged to be introduced to women's sports through our daughters. Mm-hmm. I mean, through high school into college, and we got to see them play basketball. And, shout out to college athletics, to women athletics. You know that women actually play real basketball now. They don't use their physical abilities to outweigh the real way to play basketball. So watching them are incredible. And they have grown so much. I love watching women's sports now because of my daughter. Mm-hmm. But something happened with my favorite team, the New York Yankees. And I think it's a great story. Would you like to tell us about that story?
Yeah, that was interesting. I guess a young lady in 1961 wrote a letter to, the head of the Yankees, and she wanted to be, was it a bat girl or something? She wanted to be a bat girl. And the Yankees wrote back then saying, well, no, this is really this is a place for males, and you'd be very uncomfortable if you were to come. Thank you, but no thanks. And I guess somebody got the letter to the manager of the Yankees now, and he allowed her to come in. She's 70 years old. So it was like 61 years later, they let her throw out a pitch in the game. And I think I sent you a picture of her actually doing it.
I'm showing it right now. People who watched us on YouTube, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. But if you can watch this show on YouTube also. So they're seeing it right now, Paul.
Yeah. Please like, share, and subscribe, and pass it to your friends, people you like and people you don't like. It might help them. But anyway, it's a nice story. And I think the moral of the story is to, don't give up. Keep persevering. You never know.
I think good. I'll tell you what, with the 11 facts in life, good will always overcome evil. I say, it's not worth waking up. It's time for the Wingman story. And since we're talking about women, I want to tell you about my wingman, and that's my wife, Katrina. She definitely stopped me from using the N-word. Now, my N-word is never, because 3 days before I met her, I said, I will never get married again. Never. I probably said it so many times that Shorty said, okay, let's make this quick. And 3 days before I was to leave to St. Thomas to live in the Virgin Islands, I met Katrina.
Now, you got to remember now, who is Shorty for those who may have just tuned in for the first time?
Shorty is somebody bigger than I am. I am not to tell you what you call your power. I'm not to tell you what most people call him God. Other people call him other names. That's none of my business. I call him Shorty. And the reason, Paul, is my dad taught me that. It's because he always said, guess what? You ever notice the big shots always pushing the short guy to the side, just moving them out of the way like they're so important? My dad said, you better be careful who you're pushing. That short guy just may be taking notes, meaning that might be God right there, who you just pushed. Anyway, getting back to the story, my wife, you know my personality and you know me for a very long time. We're about to celebrate 20 years of marriage. And I have to give it to anybody who could put up with me is freaking incredible.
I agree.
I have softened a lot. I have become a lot wiser, but she is such a good balance for me, just like you're a good balance for me. And Shorty's given me a love that she's just a wonderful person. She's so nice that her and my ex-wife are friends, and she passed the Taryn test. Now, listen to this, my daughter. If you pass the Taryn test, you're in like Flint.
What is that?
Taryn's really hard on especially women that I used to date in between that little moment of when Laurie and myself were separated and got divorced up until the time I married Katrina. So during that time, a couple of women might have called the house, and I heard her speak like I could not believe it. I did the Michael Jackson back in the bathroom like I never heard the conversation. And here to say, when I called the girl the next time, she was like, don't ever call me again.
Oh, okay.
I am not going to die by the hands of your daughter. Don't ever call me again. So anyway, she passed that Taryn test. She's one of those kind of women that if you don't like Katrina, there's something wrong with you, not her. You know,
Okay.
I'm not like that. You know, if you don't like me, I probably rub you the wrong way, which I don't mean to. But my wingman is my wife, Katrina, and I love her dearly. So
that's great. Everybody likes Katrina.
Yes. And you have to have somebody next to you because everybody in life are going to have ups and downs. And I've just learned this, it's the people that stick with you through your downs. And don't forget that times of struggle are times of growth. Every time something bad happens to me, I learn from it. I look back at my life and I talk about Shorty a lot, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, but I look back on my life and the decisions I would have made would have got me not having this show. I probably wouldn't be here. But the decisions that somebody else made, who I happen to call Shorty, is perfect. They're perfect. They're freaking perfect. It's almost like, the number 7 comes up every single day. Why are you betting on 8 today? So I've been very blessed. We've both been very blessed. And I love you, Paul.
Love you too. Remember, there's a wise man that said, your life may be perfect, but you may not know it yet.
Oh, wow.
I think that was you about 20 years ago.
Wow. Thanks, Paul. I love you, Paul. Thanks for doing the show.
Thanks for having me on. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. We'd appreciate it.
100%. We hope you enjoyed our show. We truly thank you for your time. It's our most valuable commodity. So we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Dr. Paul Thompson, Drew Brown, we both say goodbye. See you guys later.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.